Okay, now we're going to move on to our random effects. These ones are going to work a little bit differently because more than likely you probably have a lot more insert effects on these, things like reverb, stuff like that, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to start with these forest bird sounds I have, right? And they've got these big reverb tails on them that we want to keep, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to select the track with a little bit extra on the end of it, so that way there's room for all the reverb tails, right? And what we're going to do now that we have selected is we're going to go track. Oh, you want to make sure you have the track selected. You're going to go to track, bounce. We're going to be prompted with this. We're going to name it something that makes sense. So I'm going to call this Forest Day Birds because that's what they are. We're going to have it file format interleaved, and then your session settings 24-bit, 44.1 for it could be 16-bit, just whatever your session settings are. And then we're going to import after bounce. The destination should be your bounced files folder, and we're going to do this as an offline bounce. We'll hit bounce. We're going to get asked to how we want it imported. So we're going to do as a new track from the session start. And then boom, these are our little woodland birds. All the reverb tails are on it, right? And what we're going to do from here is we're going to go to Audio Suite and normalize. And we're going to normalize at -1. Awesome. Hit render. Cool. So now all of our sounds are pretty loud. And then what we're going to do from here is we're going to go to Edit and Strip Silence. So what is Strip Silence? Strip Silence, basically, you can kind of see already what it's doing. It's going to remove all this dead space here so that you're left with these 5 different assets, right? So what we're going to do is mess with the settings. So strip threshold, that's the first one. That decides at what volume level do you want me to start removing, right? So if we set this to like, you know, -96, you can see, okay, it's going to catch my whole reverb tail and then it's going to cut, right? And get rid of this dead spot right here, which is exactly what we want. You can, if you want, set a minimum strip threshold. I recommend leaving this at 500 milliseconds, but basically, I'll show you what happens if it's too small. You can see down at the bottom there, it's making like 1,000 clips that are all named that. So you don't want 1,000 random clips where that dark line is down here, right? So we're going to set the min strip duration so that all that stuff goes away. Okay? It can really be anything. It's just whatever the minimum is. So if you put it at 500 is what it defaults to, that's probably fine. Clip start pad is just how much extra time do you want on the front of this, and then clip end pad is how much extra time do you want on the end of this. So we're going to leave those at 0 and 0 for now because it's fine. And then we're going to hit separate and strip. And so boom, you're left with these perfect files all right here, right? You can select them individually and go Audio Suite, Other, normalize again. The reason being is because now that it's its own file, hit render, see they're all much louder now. All those quiet ones are suddenly a little bit louder, a little bit louder, a little bit louder, a little bit louder. Awesome. At this point, we can start the renaming process. So rename, we're going to call this Forest Day Birds 1. Okay. We're going to copy that name. We're going to rename again. Oops, wrong one. We're going to rename this next one. It's going to be Forest Day Birds 2. We're going to rename this next one. Rename Forest Day Birds 3. Rename again. Forest Day Birds 4, and then rename again Forest Day Birds 5. So now we have all these bird calls that are completely normalized, ready to go. They are all loud. So what we're going to do from here is just select all of them. Oopsie. select all of them, and we're going to export them. Shift Apple K, right? And we're going to be left with this again. Wave, interleaved, 16-bit, 44.1. We're going to choose where we want these to be again, and oh, it looks like it remembered that we made this assets folder. And so that's where we want these to go, right? So you're going to hit open and export. And so now if we look, there we've got 5 forest day birds. They're nice and loud. We're going to mix all of these inside of FMOD. And that should be about everything. So by the end of this, you will have all of your assets, both random and ambient, completely set up, right? You can even, if you want, have a secondary file folder in here, you know, that's just loops, and one that is random SFX if you want. If you're like a big organizational person like me, I would do that. But yeah, so you're going to do this to all of your loops, all of your random sounds, and then by the end of it, you'll be left with an assets folder that has everything you need in it. And all of them will be normalized and ready to be imported into FMOD. Apologies for this being a very long tutorial, but hopefully it's a very informative one. So I'll catch you guys in the next one.